The first thing the bullies noticed was how quiet she was. Standing by the fence of her family's old farm, with the dust of the dirt road clinging to her boots, Sarah looked like the kind of girl who wouldn't say much back. She was kind, reserved, and gentle, the sort who always helped her neighbors, carried extra feed for the animals, and smiled even when people pushed her aside. That's why they thought she was an easy target. But what they didn't know was that Sarah had a twin sister, Rebecca. And Rebecca wasn't just another farm girl. She was a legend, a soldier forged in the fires of combat, a decorated Delta Force operator whose name was spoken with respect in places most people would never dare step foot. The trouble started on a warm Friday evening. Sarah had gone into town to pick up supplies. She always kept to herself, but that day a group of young men, local troublemakers with too much time and too little conscience, decided to make sport of her. They mocked her boots, laughed at her clothes, and tried to block her path. Sarah tried to ignore them, keeping her head down, just like she always did. But when one of them grabbed her arm and yanked her toward him, fear flickered across her face. She broke free and ran, but not before they promised they'd be back. They weren't done with her, not by a long shot. That night, Sarah sat at the kitchen table, her hands trembling as she tried to drink her tea. Rebecca had just come home after months away. To the world, Rebecca was a ghost, a shadow who existed in classified reports and military whispers. To Sarah, she was just her sister, the other half of her heart. Rebecca noticed the fear in Sarah's eyes before Sarah could even say a word. "What happened?" Rebecca asked, her voice calm but firm. Sarah tried to brush it off, but Rebecca wasn't fooled. When Sarah finally told her about the boys in town, Rebecca's eyes hardened. The farm girl might have stayed quiet, but the warrior inside her sister was very much alive. "They picked the wrong twin," Rebecca muttered. The next day, the bullies made good on their promise. They came back, this time out by the farm. They hooted and hollered, daring Sarah to come outside. But instead of Sarah, Rebecca stepped out onto the porch. She looked so much like her sister that for a moment, the boys thought they were facing the same timid farm girl they had taunted the night before. But there was something different about her, something in her stance, in the way her eyes never wavered. She didn't shrink back, she didn't fidget or falter. She simply stood there, calm and unshaken. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice low, steady, and dangerous. The boys laughed, thinking this would be fun. One of them swaggered forward, spitting on the ground, and said, "We came for a little fun. Your sister here needs to learn her place." Rebecca's jaw tightened. "She already knows her place," she said. "And it's not under your boots." The leader of the group reached out, just like he had the night before with Sarah. But this time, the outcome was different. In a flash, Rebecca's hand shot out, twisting his wrist with surgical precision until he dropped to his knees, crying out in pain. The others froze, shocked by the speed, the power, the control. "You're messing with the wrong family," Rebecca said, her voice like steel. What followed wasn't a brawl. It wasn't even a fight. It was a lesson. Every move Rebecca made was measured and precise, the product of years of discipline, training, and survival. Within seconds, the bullies were disarmed, humiliated not by brute force, but by the undeniable skill of someone who had faced real monsters in real battlefields. When it was over, Rebecca stood tall while the boys scrambled away, clutching their bruised egos and muttering apologies. They had come looking for prey, but they had found a protector. Sarah, who had watched from the porch with tears in her eyes, rushed to her sister. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. Rebecca softened then, pulling Sarah into an embrace. "Yes, I did, because no one hurts my sister. Not while I'm here." But the real battle wasn't against the bullies. It was inside Sarah herself. For years she had believed she was weak, that her kindness made her small. She lived in her sister's shadow, thinking she'd never measure up to Rebecca's strength. Yet Rebecca, the warrior, saw things differently. That night, as they sat under the stars, Rebecca took Sarah's hand and said, "You think I'm strong because I've fought battles with guns and knives. But the truth is, your battles are harder. You face the world with kindness, even when it's cruel. You stand tall in silence, even when no one notices. That's strength too, maybe stronger than mine." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she realized her gentleness wasn't weakness, it was power in its own way. Word spread quickly through the town about what happened. The bullies never came back. Neighbors who had once overlooked Sarah now looked at her differently, with respect in their eyes. But Sarah knew the real change wasn't in them, it was in herself. From that day forward, she walked a little taller. Not because she had a sister who could fight for her, but because she had finally found the strength inside herself. Rebecca had shown her that legends don't always carry rifles or wear uniforms. Sometimes, they wear dusty boots and carry baskets of feed, and their battlefield is simply choosing kindness in a world that too often chooses cruelty. And so, the farm remained a place of peace. The bullies had been taught their lesson. And two sisters, one a warrior of war, the other a warrior of heart, stood side by side, proving that no matter the battlefield, strength comes in many forms. Because when bullies picked the wrong twin, they didn't just find a Delta Force legend. They found the unbreakable bond of two sisters who would never let each other fall.